Hey everybody, what's up? This is Devin, LaVore, and
Michelle,
coming at you.
you.
And I just love it. I just have to laugh every time we say it.
I know. It's hilarious.
It's become our catchphrase, even though we weren't even trying to create a catchphrase. You know, it's really awesome. So today, guys, we wanted to come to you with a little bit of maybe instruction, teaching, warning, all of that may also turn out to be an encouragement for you. We're not looking to offend anybody, obviously, but maybe some of the things we might say might be, stepping on some toes. But we really want to kind of throw out some things there from our own personal experience, giving and receiving prophetic words, and some of the things that you just need to watch out for. Maybe some things that maybe need to be considered red flags.
Yeah.
Even yellow flags, like caution.
Yeah.
Hold on. This may be the Lord, it may not be,
Yeah.
Half of it might be, half of it is totally bogus, But
yeah, so I think this kind of came up for us over this last weekend, and I think one big thing to just kind of be cautious about when you are getting prophetic words and
especially if you're seeking prophetic words,
is the timing factor.
For example, like, you're going to get this great thing happen to you this week, or God's going to do this for you in the next 3 days.
Yeah.
And I knew I blew it when I gave that feast vision, and I was like, I feel like the Lord's saying that the next 21 days we're going to enter into our promised land. Why did I say that? Well, because that's what I wanted. And it was mixed with kind of what I felt like he was saying, and he didn't correct me. And after that first week, and I'm like, we haven't even gone through the door yet. I really must have messed up here. And where did I mess up? On the timing.
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah, and I think, like, we were talking about it, and I feel like for so many people, like, we really want to know the time. It's like, that is, like, really the one thing we tend to seek after.
It's like, okay, we're good with the how. When?
Yeah. When is this going to happen? Am I going to get my breakthrough in the next day, in the next week, in the next month? And it can just keep going. And so a lot of times, like, when you're listening to prophetic words, you're really searching for that answer. And so when somebody might say, all right, you're going to receive breakthrough in the next day, or in the next 2 weeks, or the next, very soon.
You just pick a time.
Yeah, you pick a time.
In the next 10 days or something
so
like that.
You can get really excited, really hopeful for that to happen, and then when it doesn't happen, it can really just turn your world upside down and put you into that area of despair and discouragement and
especially when it doesn't
doubt.
happen.
Yeah, especially when it doesn't happen. And so I think that it's just, we have to be aware of that. But with God, I feel like a lot of times when he does give times, it's more of season, or it's just in the spirit. What is he doing? How is he moving for a particular month? But because I was looking through and just really remembering, with a lot of the promises that God gave, when he did give a time frame, it was a lot different than what we would expect. Like with Abraham, he came to him and said, by this time, next year you're going to have the baby. Yeah. And that did happen. He didn't come and say, okay, on this date, at this time, your wife is going to have the baby. So I just think that a lot of times that's really what we're looking for, is this specific time and date that something's going to happen. And part of that, I think, is a sense of security. And, and it almost, it kind of seems like, it almost gives you the opportunity to actually have less faith, because it's easier to believe that, okay, this is going to happen on this date, than for it to be something where you just have to keep going and going until God gives it to you. And maybe it's not less faith, but I think that there's just something to that. There's this false security, really.
That's really what it is.
Yeah.
It can really rope you into, how many times have we heard the Lord say something about breakthrough and this is going to happen and that's going to happen, and then we're hearing it from the Lord ourselves. We're not getting a prophetic word from anybody, and then it does come to pass and it's totally different than what we were thinking. And he didn't correct our thinking. You know what I mean? We're still thinking, oh, the thing. We're going to get the thing then.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't get the thing. We're bummed out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we did get this gold nugget, but that's not what we wanted. You know?
Yeah.
What I mean?
Well,
and it can be kind of a mess.
Yeah, and that's really kind of the other thing with prophetic words is what lenses are you looking at the prophetic words through?
Right.
How are you hearing it? Because so much
what
of the time...
What do you think it means?
Yeah, so much of the time we mix in our heart's desire and plug it, put it on those words, when God, he's really saying something totally different. And, I know when we've gone and looked back over things, it's like, wow, God actually did do what he said he was going to do. It's just he was doing it in a completely different way at that time.
Well, and the thing of it is, the thing that makes it so confusing is that God does share with you times and seasons. He does say, by this time next year, you're going to hold a son, to the Shunammite woman, who was taking care of Elisha, with God showing up with Abraham. And he still does that today. He'll say that, like with Doug Addison. Now Doug Addison's word about there's going to be a 2-year delay, I would totally believe that is from the Lord, because no one wants to hear that. You know what I mean? People want to hear, by this time next week, your life's going to look totally different. And then when that doesn't happen, you're like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Or like with Elisha. A great example with Elisha, it's like if there's a timing thing that God is decreeing, then it's going to happen. And this is the truth about timing and decreeing from the Lord. If God decrees a time, it's going to happen whether you even know it or hear the prophetic word.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Like when Elisha said, by this time tomorrow, there's going to be a divine reversal where the Israelites you're trapped in the city, starving to death. By this time tomorrow, there's going to be just an abundance of food, an abundance of provision and all that. He told that to a small group of people.
Yeah.
But it still happened, because not one person in that city heard what Elisha said.
Yeah.
Not one. But it happened. You see? So it's a lot of times you don't even have to hear what God's doing in order to benefit from it.
Yeah.
You just have to sense okay, this is where God has me and this is what I'm doing. And you just have to kind of be obedient to that. But I think the bottom line is, sometimes when you hear prophetic words and it says in the next 3 days or by this time next week or tomorrow or in the next 24 hours, that can be a yellow to red flag for me personally, because every time I've heard it, it's never happened.
Yeah.
I mean, God's kind of put me in the prophetic class since May 15th. It's not like I haven't been giving prophetic words my whole Christian life. It's just this has been different. And every time someone says something about a time frame, it never happens. It's like something else that's maybe a little side issue from this, but really kind of does relate at the same time, is there are a ton of people out there, and you never hear this talked about, but there are a ton of people out there that see a guy or see a girl and they think the Lord's telling them that that's their spouse.
Yeah.
Happens all the time. And then that person goes and gets engaged to someone else and gets married, and you're like, oh, that didn't happen. What happened? I thought that was the Lord. And I think the time thing can be just that way.
Yeah.
Now if you listen to people like Lana Vosser, she doesn't give time frames. She just says that God is releasing 24-hour turnarounds. She didn't say in the next 24 hours things are going to turn around for you. She doesn't do that.
Yeah.
And other people that have said things regarding to time, they don't say, well, in the next 3 days or this time next week or in the next 30 days, this is what's going to happen or something like that, unless it actually is the Lord. See, and that's what makes it confusing.
Yeah.
Because the problem with I think a problem with a lot of people, which kind of steps into another prophetic pitfall, is that we, as hearers of the prophetic word from prophetic people, we want to depend on them to be accurate and right.
Yeah.
We want them to hear on our behalf, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's like, it doesn't work that way. It's like I did a video before. It's like your relationship with God is your relationship with God. You've got to know whether the word is for you or not.
Yeah.
And how it applies to you and what it means for you. When you get a prophetic word, it's an invitation to have a conversation with God.
Yeah.
About like,
really
what
is.
does this mean for me? You know, instead of just being like, because this is what will happen. You get a prophetic word about anything, and it's probably going to be good because prophecy is supposed to be comforting and consolation and encouraging. But what will happen is we will get sucked into the vortex of what we want. And it's like, oh, God's encouraging me that my thing, my promise, my dream, my vision, the thing that I'm hoping for and believing for, the thing that I'm carrying like a baby in a womb, that's getting ready to be birthed. Yes. And it's like, it could be, but it may not be.
Yeah.
You have to get with the Lord.
Yeah.
You can't put it on the prophetic people to be responsible for you. You know, we had an issue recently where it was just like, man, this person said this and then it didn't happen. And it's like, but for me, I was already like, no, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I'm not giving into that. I've already learned that doing the time frames, even I messed up on it once. It's like, don't do time frames. You know why? Because it's like, that's you trying to interpret. And that is another prophetic pitfall with the prophetic voices.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we, in our immaturity, or just speaking for myself, it's like, I will try to interpret what it's saying. And it's like, oh man, I totally blew that. That's not what that was saying at all. And then I listened to this, one of Rick Joyner's rants, and he was talking about prophetic people who deliver a word, they get visions and they get revelations. They're generally really bad at interpreting what it means. And I so fit into that thing, you know, because I got that 21-day thing. And I felt like the Lord was like, this is another opportunity for you to, because see, God keeps stuff from us on purpose. Because he uses it later on to teach us. And he was like, this is another opportunity for you to not throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah.
It's like, I did say to you 777. I absolutely said that to you. I did talk to you about the feast. And that's undeniable, all those things.
Yeah.
It's like, but you're the one who put the 21-day spin on it, not me. And I'm like, but I made a video about it and everything. And you let me put it out there. Now I look dumb. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, why did you let me do that? And the Lord doesn't take us as seriously as we take ourselves sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes the things that we think are complete disasters, he thinks is hilarious.
Yeah.
He's like, that was so funny. I just love to see your face when you found out that was not going to happen the way you thought it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Because it didn't hurt me all that much.
No.
You know?
But I think like that is also important to keep in mind is that prophets, pastors, like all these people that like as humans we tend to place on a higher level than ourselves, but the fact is they
probably
themselves
why pastors get burnt out.
Yeah, well, you know? It's like, but they can have their own issues, or like we were watching,
not necessarily even bad or sinful. It's just their own, like, ooh, this is what I want to see happen in my church, and it's not happening. I thought the Lord said this.
Yeah,
you know?
It's like we all have areas of weakness where we might struggle. I was watching or listening to a Sean Bowles message, and he was talking about, you know, when you're giving, you know, words of knowledge or words of prophecy, to be aware for yourself, like, you know, because we'll all have certain areas where we probably will be getting it wrong because of issues that we have. And he was sharing a story about a guy who would always prophesy. Yes. He would, people would come, and he had a lot of issues stemming from his relationship with his father.
We're bad.
Which, we're bad. But then when he would be prophesying over people, if he sensed they might have an issue that was similar to his, he would automatically attach it
He would transfer his stuff.
That it was something with their father. And he was in a place where he would actually get feedback from the people, and he pretty much every single time he prophesied that somebody had relationship issues with a father, it was wrong.
Yeah.
Every single time. But in other areas, he was right on. And so it's just, I think...
Which was great, because it showed him, like, wow, this is just my issue that I have, and it just keeps popping up. Every time the Holy Spirit comes, and that bubbles up with it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I need to take care of that. Like, Lord, thanks for showing that to me.
So I think it's just important, when we do hear prophetic words, when we give prophetic words, to recognize, and I think that's why it's so important to get feedback when you do give a prophetic word, or when you receive one, to give that person, the...
Don't be mad at him. Don't be like, you said this was going to happen by this time next week, and then come at him.
Yeah.
The Lord does not want you to do that.
No, but it's important to give the feedback.
Yeah.
And to just really, I think, just to be aware that we all have weaknesses. We all have areas where we are not perfect people. And, so it's really important to remember that, because it's really too easy to just hear things and swallow them.
Yeah.
And to not take
Swallow
it to
and
God.
follow.
Yeah. And I think that's really the most important thing, is to always go to God for everything. And, even for us, I feel like, for us with the timing of things, God is revealing His order, His sequence. I think that's why all these prophetic words that we have heard that have some sort of time frame on them have never come to pass, because for us that isn't the time
That's
sequence
not the time frame for us.
that God has for us.
For other people, it might be doing that. Because, see, that's another thing you have to understand. The kingdom of God is like this huge, company. And the prophetic department and the amount of people that are operating in that are massive. Thousands and thousands of people God is using in a prophetic way to reach a bunch of people. You can't just get on YouTube, hear a prophetic word that sounds good, and be like, oh, that's for me. I'll take that like an orange at a Walmart.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I want some grapes. Oh, yeah. Oh, grapefruit. Oh, yeah. You can't do that.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of times people are doing with these prophetic words, and they're getting frustrated, and they're getting irritated, and, it's like T.D. Jakes said, you can't be teaching about the promises of God without teaching about the timing of God. You have to teach about the timing too, because otherwise people are just going to get frustrated because they think it's going to happen right here, right now, and they think we get it in our head how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, who it's going to happen through. I mean, you can get all detailed to death, and then you'd be disappointed, because God's gently trying to help us out, but He's not going to ram it down our throats. We have to come to Him. We have to want to hear what He really has to say about our lives and our situation and how these things apply to us. Yeah. Because it is super, super dangerous for your soul. God said, guard your heart with all diligence, vigilance, something like that. Above all that, you guard. And you really are just opening your heart open, like you're just flinging it open. That's what I mean. When you're just getting online and looking for words from the Elijah list, from all the people that I love to listen to, get on YouTube. Oh, here's another prophetic word. Ooh, signs and warnings. Ooh, let's click that. And you really do yourself a great disservice, and you do God a disservice too, because you're looking to all these people. Kind of like my wife, she just did a video on don't be going on Google and looking at all the Christian books and trying to figure out, okay, I got all the books on humility. I'm going to just go to Jesus, who says, I am humble at heart. Come to me, talk to me. I'll share stuff with you that aren't even in any of those books.
Yeah. And that was too something that when I was going through all these, the people who were receiving promises or God had given promises to, He was the one who came and told them when things were going to happen. Yeah. And I believe that really applies to our lives as well. It's like when it concerns a promise between you and God, He Himself is going to reveal to you the time and the sequence and how things are going to happen. And even in that, it's like I feel like God is he gives you like a sense of what's going on. Like for us, he's been giving us the visions of what's going on. But he is not saying, on this day, at this time, I'm going to do this. Because truly for us as human beings, it would be probably disastrous, because
that's
all we would focus on.
That's all we would think about.
Okay, I mean, think about it. How many women, like, once they have their date for their wedding, they are consumed with nothing but wedding. And they really miss out sometimes on the process of before getting to the wedding. And I feel like with God, he does not want us to miss anything in the process. And so out of really his love for us, he doesn't always say this time, this date, or anything like that. He'll just give you a sense of, okay, we're getting close. It's starting to, be ready.
I mean, I gave that almost there word like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Lord, I thought you said we was almost there. He's like, you are almost there.
Yeah.
I was like, it was only 2 months ago, dude. Come on. Well, 2.5 by now or something like that.
Oh, and talk about that, the verse that you were saying that Jesus said, now the hour has come.
Right. Well, what was that? I was reading John chapter 16, verse 33 for something completely different. About trials and tribulations, and we're going to have that, but take courage, I've overcome the world. But the verse before that, he says, the hour is coming, and it is actually here. Basically, he's saying the hour is coming, and it's actually upon us, when you will all scatter and leave me alone. But I'm not going to be alone. And this happened this morning.
Yeah.
And the Lord was like, whoa, check that out. Look at what I just said. He was like, I just said that to them. What happened right when I said it?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, because he had the now, like now.
Yeah, he was like, it's gonna happen. It's like the hour is at hand and it has actually arrived.
Yeah.
And it's like, did they, like, in that moment, because God was trying to address my personal issues on words like things happening now and things being upon us and all these things that I have prophesied, other people have prophesied. And I'm like, Lord, I have not felt a dripple drop of deluge. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I felt the raindrops. That's all I felt. I was for sure there was going to be deluge after that. Yeah. Not only have there not been deluge, but there's been dry days where literally nothing's come in. And I'm just like, dude, what? And the great thing about this, like one of my friends on Facebook, she posted something on her Facebook page, and I will put her name up there. And she says, pain inspires growth, if you respond to it properly. So I'm pained by all these things that I'm saying and other people are saying about now's the time and this and that is upon us. And I really believe it is the Lord. See, that's the confusing part, is like, this really is the Lord. Like, what are you saying? And then it gives God an opportunity to teach us about time. And he was basically saying through that John 16:32, he was just saying, like, the time has come, like, it's here. Like, it's getting ready to happen.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it. And when he shared that with me, I really understood it. I was like, okay, I get it. And it's just like, and I felt like the Lord was saying, just because I say, the hour is upon, the hour could be like a whole year in his time frame. Yeah. In this hour, in this season, in this day, in this day. A lot of times the scripture will say, like in that Zephaniah 3, 14 through 20, he says a lot in that day. Is he talking about a specific day? No, he's talking about in that particular period of time.
Yeah.
And that's what he's talking about. The hour is here, and it is actually upon us when you guys are going to scatter from me and leave me alone. Did they scatter from him, right? Oh, he said it. He spoke the word, bam, and they scattered. No. And I feel like God was trying to reveal, like, that's how you think. That's how a lot of people think about the timing words from God. That's why really mature people in the Lord, and I really feel like Doug Addison is one of those people.
Yeah.
He's very mature in the Lord. He's not going to do stuff like that. He's going to speak in the same manner that God speaks. Yeah. And if God says in the next 30 days such and such is going to happen, then it's going to happen. I mean, my August word that I gave about the prophetic P's, all of that happened.
Yeah.
Absolutely all of it happened. It's just, I thought I was going to be in Nashville with my people in Nashville going on with the purpose that you've given me for writing books and doing music and all that. None of that happened, but definitely God, he fulfilled every one of those.
Yeah.
Just not the way I thought.
Yeah.
And it does not discount going to Nashville. It does not discount doing the vision that he's given me. It doesn't discount that. Because see, and that's one of the problems. That's why we need to talk about this.
Yeah.
Because one of the problems is we'll think, oh, well, that stuff just wasn't from the Lord at all. You know what? And it's fine. You know, that pain is actually good.
Yeah.
Because it shows where you're involved.
Mm-hmm.
And where God just needs to step back and let you flail a little bit. And then he can come in and rescue you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your turn.
So, I just wanted to chime in that, you know, we were just talking about how really, especially our culture right now, that we are like microwave timers.
Oh, yeah, for
and
sure.
the fact that we want everything just instant. We want it to come quick. It's like if the word says now, we actually want it now.
It's a microwave bit. Beep.
Yeah,
beep,
it's
beep,
like,
done.
all right, you know, God's doing this thing now, and we really do expect it to be, okay, well, it's been an hour, like, wow, like, this is taking a long time. And so it's kind of this process, at least
It's
been
been
for
2 months.
Yeah, I think
Like,
for
there's no
us,
way it could
though,
be now.
it's been the process of kind of just learning what is God's timing versus our timing. And again, it's...
And what does he even mean by the hour and day and stuff like that,
and
you know?
it really is
not
like...
many days from now. We gave that word. We really felt like it was a not many days, but there was no specific, like, in the next 10 days this is going to happen or anything like that.
Yeah.
This morning, I felt like the Lord said that, or I just got this sense. See, there we go.
Yeah.
I got this sense. I'm giving it to you the way I got it. That the opening of the books of remembrance that Doug Addison talked about has to do, and the promotion and all that stuff is, I feel like he's going to release that thing or do whatever it is he's going to do during the days of Rosh Hashanah. You know, but but that's the thing. That's all I got.
Yeah.
I just got this sense of God opening the books and rewards coming for those who have been faithful and all that stuff. And there was a Rosh Hashanah connection with it. That's all I got. See, and then there is where there's opportunity to fill in all the blanks, because there's a ton of blanks there to fill it in with, oh, this is what you mean here, and this is what's good.
Yeah.
And you're putting together this puzzle piece. It's just like, you weren't supposed to put those together, because I got other puzzle pieces coming in that are going to connect it all together. Yeah. I had them separated on purpose. You know, why did you try to put them together? Look what kind of picture that makes. That doesn't even make sense. You know, look at that picture. It's like you got the sunflower all connected to the lion's eye and other. That's not a good puzzle. That's not the picture. We're not doing an abstract thing here.
Yeah.
You know, God's doing a very specific thing in our lives. He's not doing this abstract, ambiguous. Maybe this will happen, and maybe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that will happen when you get a word from the Lord and it's full of holes. Like, well, what about this? And I don't understand this, and I don't understand that. And you try to just put it together. And you create this really messy looking mosaic of prophetic word. And it's like, that's like the problem with trying to interpret prophecy that I've experienced. I learned that really quick. And I was like, I am not, with that 21-day thing, I was like, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, to this day, we still have not gone through the door into the feast.
Yeah,
the Holy Spirit has not come
waiting.
and blown open any opportunity for it. And I'm just like, wow, that was well over 21 days ago. Well over.
Yeah. But I think though there is still like
you got to give grace and mercy to yourself too.
Well, and I think too, a lot of times we were talking about, like, especially with visions, that God can be giving you visions so that you can partner with Him in praying for that vision.
Yes,
and
that's right.
You know,
I forgot about that.
I feel like He does. With visions, sometimes He's showing you what He has done, so it kind of helps bring clarity. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of times, like, He's showing, or what He currently is doing.
So you can pray it
in.
You
can pray it in.
You know,
or He does give visions that are further, further ahead. But even in that is to be careful, because we're just, the way our minds work, we want to figure things out. We want to make sense of our world.
Well, and we want what we want.
Yeah. and we want what we want. So a lot of times it's like, even with those, you can be, you can see this vision, and then you start attaching things to the vision and the timing, and this is how it's going to go, and it's really all of your desires
that aren't bad.
Yeah. And
desires are not bad. It's just trying to fit them in to where you think they need to go as soon as we can get them. That's where we can get messed up. Guilty. Right here.
And
how many limbs can I put up? So that's just our random list of prophetic pitfalls and traps and
just things to look out for in yourself when you're giving or receiving prophecy. And
because we're not saying that God won't speak time frame.
No,
God can absolutely say, hey, for you in the next 10 days, blah blah blah. And something else that you brought up, which I thought was very significant, because I've seen this happen before, where a lot of times when God does give a time frame, it can really relate to a judgment.
Yeah.
And not because, there's this one guy I knew who prophesied over this one guy that if he didn't get his life straight in the next 30 days, he was going to be dead.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he didn't get his life straight, and he kept playing around. He died 30 days later.
Yeah, and I do. I feel like when God does give very specific time frames, it tends to deal with judgment, and versus with, I think a lot of blessings and things like that. There's kind of more of a
there can
be a seasonal thing.
It could just be tricky with the timing. With time frames, it can be just so tricky. I think
ultimately, the whole purpose of just this video being that, okay, be aware of these things, but ultimately always go to God.
Yeah, it's about you and the Lord, man.
Seek Him, pray about everything, listen to what He has to say to you, because the prophets that are prophesying, they don't know what's going on in your life.
They really don't.
And
they're being responsible for what God's giving them to say. And that's good for them,
Yeah.
If it doesn't apply to you, it's not their fault.
Yeah.
Or even if they get it wrong.
But to just really always go to God, seek God, and just continually pursue Him. And I think too, sometimes we just need to put the time, put the when and the how aside, and just really...
Like forever.
Yeah.
Never open it up again. Mark it Pandora.
Yeah. Because I think so much can come out of it that a lot of it might not be good, because it can send you to a really bad place when things aren't happening the way you thought they would happen, or the how and the when for both of those. And so I think, though, the better thing is to really just walk with God. All these things are going to be added unto you. Seek first God's kingdom. Seek first God. And the rest is going to fall into place. Because the truth is, God has a time. He already knows, like we were saying before. You have a date.
You have a date scheduled.
For when your breakthrough comes. For when...
And you ain't going to miss it.
The blessing comes. And you're not going to miss it.
You're not going to miss it.
Not when you continually go after God.
You get completely discouraged, which is what the time frame thing and all these pitfalls will do. They get you completely discouraged because you keep falling into them.
Yeah.
You keep falling into the traps. This is not the Lord. I'm not going this way anymore. I give up. I'm done.
Yeah.
And then you could miss it.
Yeah.
You really could, but it's like...
But even then,
it's like, it's just like the bottom line. It's like you're saying. Bottom line is, be responsible for your own relationship with God and go to God with, Lord, how does this apply to me? Because it can be difficult when you go to the Lord and He says, well, that part doesn't really apply to you, but you really want it to.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's a maturity thing, and it's like God's going to always make sure that your heart belongs totally to Him, and He'll test you. Like for me right now, I think the only prophetic person He lets me listen to is Doug Addison. And in the previous season, I wasn't listening to him at all.
Yeah.
He was just not ministering to me. It was all Lorelei Cooley and Lana Vassar, occasionally JoJo Dawson and Jolyn Whitaker, but it's like it really began whittling down right away. And then eventually God was like, okay, you're done with that. Training wheels off. We did that video. And then but I'm in a routine and a habit of, okay, what's going on in the prophetic office today, and what's the memos and all that. And God's like, you don't work at that desk anymore.
Yeah.
You're over here, bro. And I'm like, I kind of like being over there. It's fun,
Yeah.
But God's like, no, you have to be where I place you. If you go back to that place, I'm not there. I am what made that place fun and awesome and great. If I'm not there, it won't be.
Yeah.
Trust me, it won't be. Because there's people out there, see, that's another thing. There are prophetic people out there sitting at a desk that God told them to leave 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But they're still doing it, and they're still manufacturing these things that are just like, I don't know. I could get lost in the weeds right there. That could be another video. But we just want you guys to be encouraged, and just to know that, man, God really does have a plan for you.
He does.
He absolutely has a date set for multiple breakthroughs. I felt like the Lord said. People are looking for this one breakthrough, but God's got all kinds of breakthroughs, and they're probably happening in your life right now.
Yeah.
There's things that God's doing in your life, like us, man. We've gotten some major breakthroughs.
Yeah. Things that we were
since the 14th of September.
Not praying. I mean,
we would have never even prayed for and looked for it. And God's like, see, you got to just trust me and follow me and look to me. And that's the important thing. We just want to encourage you guys and build your relationship with God up. And it is important to know when there's traps and prophetic landmines and things like that out there that you don't get caught up in, so that you can actually receive from the prophetic word even better.
Yeah.
It can be okay for you to be like, no, I don't think that's the Lord for me, and so we hope that that's what this video's done.
Yeah.
So be encouraged, guys.
Yeah.
And we will see you on the next video.
All right. Bye.